Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hard 100, a video series documenting the culling of my collection from what it is to what it is going to be, and that is a Hard 100 games. Ever since I started playing games, two-player games have been the game of choice. Most of the time, I really can only find one other person to play with, so if a game starts out at 3 or more, I'm usually like, nah. But if a game is only for 2 players, I am all over it. Now, a long time ago, there was a game that caught my eye because when you first get into the hobby, there are 3 games that you hear about. You hear about Ticket to Ride, fine game. You hear about Pandemic, another fine game. And also, you hear about Settlers of Catan. It is, from what I hear, a fine game. I've only played the PS3 version, so I've never actually played with people. But I have played Rivals, the card game, but I've also played the spacey version of it. Not Starfarers, but the 2-player one. Ladies and gentlemen, Starship Catan. Starship Catan, an adventure for 2 Starfarers by Klaus Trower, is a 2-player game in which you and one other person are Starship Cataning where no one has ever Starship Catan before. Now, this is an older game. It is old in its design philosophy, and it is old in its design. You and another player each have a ship in front of you. On the front of that ship are a couple of pew-pews. On the back of that ship are a couple of zoom-zooms. And on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to take a yellow die and you're going to roll it. That is going to give you a number, as most dice do. And that number is going to possibly correspond with something you have in front of you in your basic tableau. It will give you a resource, in which case you will get that resource. On your board, you have all the resources you can keep track of, and a little tile token that you spin around to show the number of resources that you have. You have space wheat and carbon and other things in space science. What that number also does is it gives you extra zoom zooms to go through one of the 4 decks in front of you. Through each one of these decks, there are things like planets and pirates and just all sorts of various things. So let's say I have 2 zoom zooms and I roll a 1, so I have 3 zoom zooms. I pick one of the 4 decks and I get to do 2 things in that deck. The other person will flip the card and I will decide if I want to do what's on the card. The card will be anything from trading goods that I have, buying or selling. Some of them will be only buying, some of them will be only selling, and some of them will be just a story planet. On the side of the play area, there are some face-up council aliens that will say, hey, we need this. If you can give us this, you get a victory point. Oh, thanks. And I do that and it gives me the victory point. Or it will give you a friendship point or another kind of point, and whoever has the most points of those points at the end of the game gets a point. Or you will get a pirate. If you get a pirate, they actually don't flip it. They say, hey, give them $3. And you're like, no, I'm gonna fight it. In which case you fight, you have a blue die, and you roll the blue die, you add those to your pew-pews, and if that beats the die roll of the pirate, which is done by the other player, plus the number on the card, then you get a resource of your choice and something else. Very easy. But if not, then you usually stop. So if I go 3 pew-pews, I can do the first one, like, no, I don't want that. If I want that, yes, I want that. I do the thing on the card, and they deal again, yes, I want that or don't want that. And then after you do your spacefaring, you will upgrade your ship. You can do that on your ship. You can build a couple of things. You can upgrade your pew-pews, you can upgrade your zoom-zooms, you can buy colony and trade ships, because some of the cards in the decks are colonies and things like that you can actually land a ship on and put it in front of you, so that way if you roll a die, the 1, 2, or 3, you have a greater chance to get extra resources in front of you, which is very nice. Or you can put a trade ship, because normally if you go to a trade planet, oh, I can trade space wheat for $3, but if I put it in front of me, at the end of my turn, I have the option to do that trade as much as I want. And then you can also upgrade the modules on your ship. They do different things like allow you to hold more, they allow you to research science, they allow you to buy resources from the other player. That's it. So on your turn, you're rolling the die to see if you get any resources. Then you are using that to get your zoom zooms to go into one of the 4 decks. If a card is taken out, you'll replace it with another card from a side deck that you've organized before. And then you keep going. Gameplay goes until someone hits 10 points. Points are gathered by upgrading modules, by doing friendshipy things and getting little handshakes to get the friendship card, or from doing the other leadership card to do the other things and get points. Let's do some housekeeping. It is for 2 players. Obviously, it's a 2-player game. It only comes with enough components for 2 players, a red player and a blue player. That is all. Ages 12 and up, it is a rather complex game as far as how to explain it to someone, and we'll get to that a bit in a second as well. And then 60 minutes. There's a lot of game in this box, and it goes 15, 20 minutes too long. To get those 10 points is a headache. And by that point, you've done everything and you're just kind of, all right. And if you don't have a good engine going, in your spaceship, it can feel even longer. I would recommend making to get 2 points, maybe 8, maybe even 7 to shorten the length of the game a little bit, because 10 feels a little long in the tooth, a lot long in the tooth. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned that it's a rather old design philosophy and a rather old design. Every single module that you build on your ship requires the same resources. So instead of having like a reference card, like, oh, in order to upgrade this, I need this resource, over to upgrade this, I need that resource, the resources that you need are printed on each individual tile. And then along with the aesthetic that they decided to go with the sheet metal and the gray and the silver, it's cross-eyeing. It's very hard to look at. It's ugly. Very, very ugly. And I feel like if they made an updated version of this and give it to like a modern artist that really knows how to streamline these type of things, it'd be sexy as hell. But the board is very cool. I like the way that my guns look like dildos, and I like the way that my zoom zooms look like zoom zooms, little rocket ships. I like that the die for the guns is the same color as the gun, and the die for the zoom zooms is the same color as the zoom zooms. So it's all very, very cool. I love the rhythm of it. I love the idea of there's a little bit of a memory element, but not the order of the cards, but what's in that deck. So if I go into a deck and I see, oh, do you want to sell carbon for $1? No. Do you want to sell carbon for $5 or buy it for $5? No. Why would I ever want to do that? Because in a future turn, you can think, oh, wait a minute. If it's possible for me to buy all carbon I can for $1 each and then sell all carbon for $5 each, that's a good profit, because money makes the world go round. Towards the end of the game, I had an engine going where I would buy and sell in order to build a module. And I was able to get pretty much every module, because every module has a level 1 and we each get that. But the level 2s, there's only one of each. So it's a race to get them and see which ones are more important. And obviously, some of them are more important than the others. Starship Catan, an adventure for 2 starfarers. It's an old ass out of print game. It's ugly. It's really clunky. It goes on way too long. It makes my eyes cross when I look at it. But there's a part of me that fucking loves it. Maybe it's the fact that it's one of the earlier games that I ever played. Maybe it's the fact that I never got burnt out on Catan to begin with. And I just love the idea of going down the little cards and be like, oh, I could possibly make that better. What's in there? And then when another card gets added to it, you're like, oh, what is it? It could be Lost Space, which is a dead card. And you really want to upgrade your engines to go farther inside the cards, or further inside the cards, into the cards. Because the more options you have, the absolute better. Starship Catan is a great game. It's got its faults, but much like the kid that you have that maybe isn't your favorite, but you gotta love them anyway and you gotta feed them, Starship Catan might be that kid. The shines come off of it quite a bit as I played it recently, having played many other games that are way better. But at the end of the day, if you asked me if I wanted to play this, I would absolutely say yes. So Starship Catan is in my hard 100. It is wonderful. It's gonna go right back over here on my shelf with Ugly Nose Ring Guy and Fish Person. Man, I hope that gets an update one day, because I would love to have a second edition of that with a couple of fiddliness fixed and a couple of graphic design choices next. So ladies and gentlemen, that game is right for my shelf. It might be right for yours if you want to pay the price to get it out of stock. Luckily, I found it at a friendly local game store for retail price, and I haven't looked back since. Thank you so much for joining me on this latest edition of the Hard 100. I hope you win as well. Peace out.